Nothing like toning down an adult series for the kids. Hey everyone, I'm Rebecca and welcome to Watch Mojo. Today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 R-rated franchises that went PG-13.
Yeah, where am I?
That means we're looking at various franchises that started as adult-oriented R-rated movies before transitioning to PG-13, even if it was only for one movie. All right, let's get to the list.
The guy!
Number 10, the Scary Movie franchise. The first two Scary movies were delightfully crude and wickedly offensive.
Grandma! Baby!
Yes, there was violence and profanity, but most of the vile content stemmed from sexuality. The first film included countless innuendos and that infamous bathroom stall sequence. Scary Movie 2 ramped up the sexual humor to an insane degree. The series subsequently shifted to a much more kid-friendly and Naked Gun-esque approach with Scary Movie 3, a trend that continued with the two subsequent sequels. However, that's not to say they were less funny. In fact, most people would agree that 3 was a huge improvement over 2. No one actually kept track after that.
Oh, see? They are peaceful.
Well, if they're so peaceful, man, why were they choking us a few minutes ago?
Oh, that's how we say hello.
Number 9, the Riddick franchise. The Riddick series has gone through quite a few iterations over the years.
How many are there?
It all began with Pitch Black, an alien-like slasher that saw Riddick in a supporting role. Like many slashers, Pitch Black was rated R largely for its gore, which includes a woman being ripped in half by killer bat things. The series then shifted to a more sci-fi approach with the Chronicles of Riddick, losing a lot of violence and gore in the process.
I'll kill you with my teacup.
Various scenes were cut so the film could secure a PG-13 rating, but it was mostly for naught as the movie bombed at the box office. Luckily, the series returned to its violent R-rated roots for 2013's Riddick. It was a huge improvement.
Maybe I went and did the worst crime of all. I got civilized.
Number 8, the Speed franchise. Speed is perhaps the lightest R in the history of light Rs. It was rated such for violence and language, although the violence is rather tame. The most extreme scene is when Howard gets decapitated in the subway, but it wasn't done in a graphic or disturbing way. No, the R rating mostly stems from the frequent swearing, including the mother of all curse words.
Oh, God!
So we didn't exactly lose much when Speed 2 Cruise Control was rated PG-13. There's no real swearing, and the violence is limited to what the MPAA hilariously calls frenetic disaster action. Granted, no one saw Speed 2 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Number 7, the Vacation franchise. Most people know the Vacation series thanks to Christmas Vacation, the harmless PG-13 rated holiday classic featuring no nudity and no serious swearing. Well, with one hilarious exception. We say that because the first Vacation was actually rated R. It was released in 1983, aka before the advent of the PG-13 rating, which followed 1 year later. That said, it would still receive an R rating today.
Oh shoot. Now what have we done?
We see Ellen's bare breasts on 2 separate occasions, and the language isn't cleaned up at all. It's clear that the first Vacation was meant for the parents, whereas the subsequent films, including Christmas Vacation, were intended more as family events. The series did return to R territory with the 2015 soft reboot, but that's a road better left untraveled.
This trip's been a nightmare.
Well, that's what family vacations are, but you can't give up.
Number 6, the Expendables franchise. If an action series deserves to be rated R, it's the Expendables. You can't just throw away a cast like that on sissy Disney violence. The first 2 movies saw to this, as they were both rated R due in part to bloody violence.
Get up there! Why me? Because you're smaller!
This includes instances of severed limbs, graphic beheadings, and bad guys being blown in half. That all changed with the significantly inferior Expendables 3, which contained much tamer violence. Yeah, all the traditional stabbings, explosions, and shootings are present, but gone are the visceral and messy results. It completely changed the nature of the series, and made it seem like it was catering to the younger demographic rather than bombastic 80s action movie nostalgia.
For what?
The Expendables.
Oh my God.
Number 5, the Mad Max franchise. Both Mad Max and The Road Warrior were released before the advent of the PG-13 rating, so they qualify as light Rs at best. Yes, the violence is persistent, but it's nothing that wouldn't be seen in a modern PG-13 action movie. Only 1 year after the invention of the PG-13 rating, Beyond Thunderdome was given the rating due to its subdued and bloodless violence. Coincidentally, most people often consider this to be the weakest Mad Max.
You know the law!
This is Thunderdome! Shoot him!
The R rating was subsequently reinstated for Fury Road, although this too was a surprisingly light R, for the most part. Number 4, the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise. Both Alien and Predator helped define the 80s monster movie. Despite the lack of on-screen gore, the first 3 Alien movies were rated R, mostly thanks to their horrifying visuals and dour tone. This changed with Resurrection, which contained far more graphic detail. Predator was the more violent of the two franchises, as it contained gory instances of skinnings, mutilations, and severed limbs. Needless to say, fans were hyped to see some blood and flying limbs in Alien vs. Predator. Would surely contain the scariest and goriest of both franchises, right? Wrong. It was lame PG-13 nonsense that tended to cut away from the more violent moments. And most of the gorier violence was contained to the monsters themselves. That's cool, right? Right, guys? Number 3, the Die Hard franchise. When it was announced that Live Free or Die Hard would be PG-13, it was like the world was ending.
This is not a good idea!
The first 3 movies are rather violent, with John getting progressively bloodier throughout the stories. Goons are stabbed through the eye, and one man is sliced in half by a cable. They also contain lots of swearing, which helps convey John McClane's everyman status. Who wouldn't be swearing in his situation?
Yippee-ki-yay.
In Live Free or Die Hard, John gets dirty rather than bloody, and the movie had the nerve to edit over his iconic yippee-ki-yay line with a gunshot. Nevertheless, we'd still take it over A Good Day to Die Hard, which proved that an R rating does not automatically equal a good movie.
What a shame your father won't be alive to see you promoted.
Neither will you.
Number 2, the Terminator franchise. Maybe it's about time this series was terminated. The first 3 movies were given R ratings, with the first 2 being particularly hard Rs. They contain some graphic and fairly convincing surgery sequences, including the Terminator cutting out his own eyeball. The violence is visceral and impactful, and the characters swear up a storm.
That Terminator is out there. It can't be bargained with. It can't be reasoned with.
However, Salvation and Genesis took the easy PG-13 route, and the movie suffered as a result.
No!
The latter was particularly offensive, relying mostly on bloodless violence and horrible CGI to convey the carnage.
Yeah, well, it looks like a piece of junk.
The series returned to its R-rated roots for Dark Fate, but everyone had long stopped caring. And even then, it was nothing compared to the first 2 films. Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications. Number 1, the Robocop franchise. The first Robocop is arguably one of the most violent mainstream films ever released, and originally received an X rating based solely on its graphic violence.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.
Yes, most of the violence is comically over the top, but it still counts. The second movie retained the R rating, but the violence was significantly toned down.
You've sold us out, Officer Duffy.
Robocop 3 did away with the blood and gore entirely, resulting in the fan-maligned and infamous PG-13 rating. It's also considered the worst film in the series. Almost like it completely took the soul out of the franchise for a quick buck.
Hey, Matt, where you going?
Unfinished business.
Of course, that completely backfired as no one went to see it. It was an utter disaster on all fronts, and Hollywood didn't exactly learn its lesson with the PG-13 remake.
Why can't we use these machines here at home? Why is America so robophobic?
Who watches a movie like Die Hard or Robocop or Terminator and thinks, oh, we gotta make these for kids? Can you imagine if the first movie in each of those franchises had been PG-13? We probably wouldn't have had more of them. I don't know what to tell you. Actually, you know what you should do? Let us know in the comments what movie you think would be most pointless if it had been made in PG-13. So yeah, let us know in the comments, or come tell me on Twitter or Instagram at Rebecca Brayton. Also, be sure to like and subscribe, and please watch this other video.